It's supposed to be funny.
The male body is not a joke.
Mine is.
No, it's not.
You wrestle naked, why not?
Dude, I don't wrestle naked. I wrestle in jorts.
Jorts are worse than naked.
If someone asks Jim who is the greatest wrestler of all time, who would he say?
But you can't just say so-and-so was the greatest of all time ever at this.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but toot.
I may get the chair, but I'm going to kill him. No, I'm going to tell you what. I might just torture him, and then I'm going to kill him.
He had great matches all the time with everybody, really, though.
Let me be a mid-card wrestler. Let me just scramble around. Treat me like a piece of garbage. Feed me garbage.
Let me tell you something. I'm hungry. I am really hungry.
He doesn't like Colt Cabana. That's not a secret.
Never in my sickest dreams did I imagine that there would be other people taking dives off the concrete floors, committing human suicide on my behalf. Like I'm the patron saint of the sick sons of bitches.
Welcome to the patron saints of Six Sons of Bitches. This is Orchid Cugini, and I am joined with Colette Errand.
Nailed it. Absolutely
yeah.
Crushed it.
All right.
Fucking pop the confetti cannons, uncork the champagne.
Cole Dave Metzler,
yeah,
Brian Alvarez, Cole the whole gang.
Yeah,
let's get them all together.
I think that I might have one of the more hard to pronounce names in wrestling media.
You could. I mean, you have the worst co-host when it comes to pronouncing things. If you had an Italian last name, no problem. But unfortunately, my upbringing has made it so that I can only pronounce Italian folks' last names. I guess if you're Latinx, I might have a shot at that too. But even then, that's skirting it. How are you doing today or this week?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm getting over a case of strep throat and bronchitis, so my voice is a little bit deeper than it usually is. It's a little bit more up in my nose than it usually is, but I'm feeling good. I've spent the last week been pretty busy on Big Egg, but also been pretty busy watching John Cena matches, which is something that if you had told me it's like 20 years ago almost, if you would have told me back then that I would be recreationally watching John Cena matches and enjoying them, I would have gone, well, goddamn, you're right. Like, of course, John Cena's one of the greatest to ever do it. And I'm so happy that your opinions on great wrestlers have remained unchanged from when we were first introduced to John Cena, which was at ECW One Night Stand 2006, and then following that, Extreme Rules 2007. Like, he's been great then, and he's been great now. Don't tell me anything about his retirement run, future Colette, and tell me everything about gender. That's what I would say.
You mean tell you everything about gender in relationship to yourself or in relationship to John Cena?
Theory, practice, hustle, loyalty, and respect. Yes.
As a gender nihilist, I think I have to press up against that. But who even knows? Gender nihilism means that I'm not even thinking about these days with the shape of the world. Well, yeah. To kind of try to do our best to hop us right into this. Our subject first off, before I talk about our subject for this week, I just want to thank everybody who listened to episodes 1A and 1B, I guess,
collectively known as episodes 1 and 2.
Yes, or that as well. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with numbering. But anyway, however many episodes you did listen to, Colette and I cannot be more appreciative. I don't necessarily think either of us had expectations about this, but I know full well going into it that, like, if 10 people listened to either of those episodes, I would have been satisfied, and that's not the case at all. It's been a pretty
thank
decent
you to all 11 of you who tuned in. It's been a wonderful ride. We're looking forward to our 12th jumping on this week.
Man, if it was only 11, I feel like I'd be a lot less anxious about this episode. But unfortunately, it's more than that. So just very appreciative to anyone who has checked it out. We'll do everything we possibly can to continue to grow just sort of I'll say the universe around patron saints. We have at least bought a URL. Colette has some ideas about a microsite, which I have ideas in turning into a mega site, but that I haven't discussed with her yet because we're trying to just do. Yeah, right. Yeah, we're trying to take this as slowly as possible, let it grow as organically as possible for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I'll just say that my expectations have been exceeded, so I'm just very grateful to anybody who's checked it out. Yeah. But we should probably hop right in, right? Otherwise, you know me, I could be effusive forever.
Yeah. I'll get the intro going. Even though you chose this week's subject, which was curious to me. You were under no obligation to do this. I think that the goal was to pick someone, quote unquote, that neither of us would have to do very much homework on, and that would be John Felix Anthony Cena, West Newbury, Massachusetts' own. He has been a figure in wrestling for 25 years and will be a fixture in professional wrestling for the rest of our God-given lives, because that is what happens when you become the top babyface in WWE. Really for any amount of time. Like it doesn't need to be long. Like there are people who've had comparatively shorter runs at the top of the WWE universe than John Cena, who stand out in history and will forever and will have their shooters. Like, you know, Kofi Kingston is someone who comes to mind in that regard. And there are people Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. Not a lot of shooters for Big Daddy Cool Diesel, but that's...
Well, you're here.
I am here, and that's a failing on other people. There's actually a giant poster of Kevin Nash hanging above me as I speak into this microphone. But you decided to choose John Cena, and I think that that's like a really interesting wrestler to examine in terms of their relative greatness, if only because the last year has given us a reason to really drill deep into the phenomena and artistry or lack thereof, depending on where you fall, of Cena as a wrestler and as a product and as a, I want to say, a bastion of corporate ill intent. He is really, I think John Cena's passing out of the West, Lord of the Rings style on a boat containing, all of his favorite memories of Vince McMahon, like that is kind of it for WWE. Like they have demonstrated no real ability to create wrestlers who are stars of even like fractional magnitude compared to Cena since his initial winding down phase. Like there is no one who compares to him who hasn't been made somewhere else, and those people also do not compare to him because in his last moments in the ring they all like knelt down to him, that being CM Punk, who is super old. I love Punker and hate Punker in equal measure. But like he's an old man and will not take the crown. And Cody Rhodes is like if John Cena was aware that he was a simulacrum of of humanity, whose ways and thoughts were false and devious. And I don't think that he's going to rise to the level of a John Cena either, because nobody knows how to make a John Cena. WWE didn't know how to make a John Cena either. That is part of the legend of Cena. That is something that I think we will wind up talking about, even though the syllabus that we put together for this week doesn't cover a lot of his early material. I think that like the legend of Cena, which is something that I don't buy into, I think that he's lying when he says this every time he talks about his early career, where he says that he almost got fired by WWE.
Right. Yeah.
Because he hadn't found his character yet.
Yeah.
And that the only thing that saved him was his like battle rapping gimmick on like a Halloween episode of SmackDown or whatever. This is a man, and once I say this, I will kind of pass the mic to you so that you can kind of tell us why you wanted to talk about John Cena so early in the project. No, this was a challenge for you, less so for me. But I want to acknowledge that like I like Cena, and I will talk about why I like Cena plenty. Orchid, I think, had to approach this with a more open mind than I did. And I don't know how successful she was in that. We will talk more about that through the course of this episode. But like John Cena is somebody who came out, like he was birthed from the SmackDown fist, parroting lines that Vince McMahon had said 5 seconds before he got into the ring. And he exited wrestling 25 years later, basically doing the same. Like he is somebody who from debut to exit has lived, breathed, eaten, and shit World Wrestling Entertainment. It was never even the WWF when he was wrestling. Like it's been his whole entire life. It's his whole entire identity. He is like the way that people call Sting the franchise of WCW. John Cena is the franchise of WWE in a way that I don't even think Hulk Hogan qualifies as, which is astonishing. And whether or not that's a good thing is what I'm hoping to get to the bottom of here, as I argue, that John Cena is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. In fact, that for the purposes of my argument, that he is the greatest wrestler of all time. I could talk about John Cena all day and have plenty, but I am interested, before we start launching into his career, Orchid, why did you do this to yourself?
It's a great question, isn't it? I don't know if I remember I don't know if I have a solid answer for that anymore. I felt like I did it at the time, which was that it would require a little homework for both of us, and that seems like such bullshit in hindsight.
Yeah, it wasn't true, by the way.
No,
like,
not at all. Not at all.
The playlist that you put together that's available on the Patron Saints of Six Sons of Bitches YouTube is something like 20 matches long, and not all of these are ones that I recommended even. Like you did more harm to yourself than I initially like put together. It's impressive, truly.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's one of my best qualities as a artist and creator. And I'm leaning into the creator term now that I am on 2 podcasts. I don't know if I get to call myself an artist anymore, but I think it's a testament to me to already have bitten off more than I can chew, and then say, no, I'm going in for another bite. That's just very, very, very typical of me to take that approach. But the reason why I wanted to, part of the reason was I thought this would be very little homework, which was so incorrect. But I think another reason why I wanted to is something that you mentioned to me before we went on this, which is that I tend to be very mercurial in my opinions. I feel like they flow pretty widely. You can catch me saying one thing about a wrestler one week, and then I'll have a completely different opinion about them by the end of the week. It's very rare that like I really plant my flag down and make a decision about where I think somebody lands in terms of their in-ring ability. And I think that you might be a little bit more the opposite. I'm unsure if you'd classify yourself as that, but in my experience, I've had a hard time changing your mind.
Who have you had a hard time changing my mind about?
I mean, when I think about it, I have never pitched you change your mind about anybody who you would have a positive opinion about in the first place.
That's
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I have a fairly wide taste. There is something about me, and I think that this comes from having been somebody who was part of the captive audience that made up WWE fans during the bulk of John Cena's peak run. That like really appreciates like the style of match that Cena like specialized in. I know that there are criticisms about him that like are fair. I will remember like for all time Cena's appearance on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast. Like it was either his podcast or like one of those WWE video things where like Cena was on there and Austin was like, "Well, goddamn son, you're such a good wrestler, but why don't you snug up on the punches? How come you ain't doing the STF right?" And Cena had like no real response for that because like he doesn't need one, but like also like that's the thing is like there are so many things about Cena that don't vibe if like you're like an in-ring person, like his penchant for loudly calling spots. Like, and you know, the easiest criticism of any WWE main eventer, like going back to Hogan at least, is like the way that they rely on whatever their 5 moves of doom are. Like this is true of Cena, this is true of Bret Hart, this is true of Shawn Michaels, this is true of Hulk Hogan. Like you've got your end of match routine that you go into, and that signals the end, and you can do it like clockwork. But the thing that has always interested me about Cena is that he has long been, I want to say probably since 2006, like whenever he got drafted to Raw, which the timing is not like in my head so much because my watching wrestling in 2005, I came back for ECW One Night Stand. And then I went away because I was like, there will be nothing that is better than the Sandman jerking his cane off like a giant dick in JBL's face. It's never going to get better. And then I came back for ECW One Night Stand 2, 2006. At which point I was just like kind of back, like, you know, ECW was coming back, quote unquote. I was suckered in. But I only really watched ECW for, you know, a couple months after that. But like seeing Cena versus RVD and having that be my first exposure to John Cena.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So that was my first exposure to him. And that was like me watching it, like on whatever WWE's internet pay-per-view thing at the time was. Cause like for $15, you could like slave your terrible internet connection to WWE's website for 3 hours and they would send you like a little dog tag that said ECW. So I did that and was like, wow, people really hate this motherfucker. That's kind of cool. And then the next match that I went to, I think that it was like, I might have been home for the summer, and like hanging out with friends, and they wanted to go to Buffalo Wild Wings, to watch a WWE pay-per-view, and it was John Cena versus the Great Khali. So this was also my first exposure to the Great Khali, who I love and will hopefully be getting a Mark pick with soon. But it's not so much that match, which we will be talking about in more detail, hopefully. It's not the match that did it for me. It was the fact that within the Buffalo Wild Wings, which had a full house because WWE blast zones, you could go for free. And if you were a real cheap ass, you could like your friends would buy chicken wings and you would have a cup of water and you'd watch the show for free. I ate chicken wings. I'm not a cheap ass. But watching 150 real life people in Allen Park, Michigan, like all do like John Cena sucks chants in a restaurant.
In a Buffalo Wild Wings.
But like in any real life place, like John Cena can't fucking hear you. Like he can't hear you. Like much like you can't see him, he can't hear you. But y'all, adult men, because it was all dudes, wall to wall sausage and chicken wings. Like we're literally doing like the like thing that people like the guys were doing at the time where they were along with the theme song going like John Cena sucks. And I was like, I've never seen this before. Like I've never seen this before as a wrestling fan. Like somebody who could make people like adults, rational human beings. And granted, I'm saying rational human beings about wrestling fans, of which I am one. So like who could make an otherwise normal person's brain turn inside out to the point that they were going to act like an asshole in public. Like I was entranced. It was impossible to turn away from him. Like, it was like, wow, this man is an ideological battlefield upon which, like, the soul of wrestling is being fought specifically for men my age. I must cheer for this man. This also this also probably informs my opinion about Batista as well.
Okay.
Like at WrestleMania 30, when everyone else in the world wanted Daniel Bryan to win, I was gunning so hard for Batista that I shot my voice out.
At 30?
Scream at WrestleMania 30. I was there.
Wow.
Scream singing the lyrics to Batista's music. Getting booed by my section. And yeah, I just wanted Big Dave to win. He came back. He didn't have to come back. He was a Hollywood star. He was better than wrestling at that point. And he came back and put Bryan Danielson over, because he's a good man. And John Cena did the same at SummerSlam 2013. Less because he's a great man and more because he was asked to by Vince. But that's all, kind of like, I'm fascinated by people in wrestling who others project themselves onto in both negative and positive ways. And I feel like John Cena is one in which, like, for many people, they viewed him as the enemy of wrestling, to the point that Triple H got himself over as a babyface at his expense. Meanwhile, like, the enemy of wrestling was counting all of the money that he was making off of John Cena merchandise and pay-per-view sales. It's a fascinating conundrum that John Cena presents to the wrestling fan. And I'm fascinated by it. And on top of that, like, I think that he's a good wrestler. Like, I think that his matches are good. I think that his psychology is sound, like, so far as, like, being, like, a top babyface is concerned. I think that, like, his instincts are usually great. Particularly when it comes to, like, who to put over and who not to put over. And I think that has only really failed him in the long coda of his post, like, truly active career. Like, he wins his 16th world title in 2017. And I think that, like, after that period is when you start to, like, see Cena, like, his perception of his legacy and how it can be used doesn't always go places that are interesting. Like, the truly ponderous Firefly Funhouse match against Bray Wyatt.
Left off the syllabus.
Left off the syllabus because I would need to be paid, like, I'd need to be paid freelance rates to watch that match. It's not good, and it wasn't good when it aired. And like, with all apologies to Bray Wyatt fans, I'm sure we will talk about Bray in detail at some point. Like, it's like, I think that match is writ large the problem that WWE and John Cena had with John Cena from around, like, 2017 forward, which is that they did not really know, like, what he actually, like, how John's, like, they didn't really know what John Cena actually meant. And we're just kind of guessing at it. And, like, I think that his retirement run is largely a response to some of, like, the self-mythologizing critique that Cena had of his own career. And it just, it doesn't work.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of, without getting into the, like, later when you ask me whether or not I believe John Cena is the greatest wrestler of all time, that's neither here nor there. Like, all of that is preface to that. And then, I've done a fair amount of revisiting John Cena's work lately, like on Big Egg. Joseph and I both did Cena month where we covered 4 different John Cena matches, and I covered a couple more besides that, like in the bonus feed and stuff like that. So I feel like I have a pretty solid understanding of John Cena's abilities and shortcomings as a marquee wrestler. And again, like the thing that I am really interested in is your take on all of this, which like it's just like what is this like when you are not into what this man has to sell, and is it worth going through that like kind of match by match, like did you watch his debut like against Kurt Angle?
I have seen his debut. I didn't rewatch it for the sake of this syllabus, but I have seen it within the last 2 or 3 years. I remember pretty well. I also listened to a brief. Before we dive into answering some of these questions, and before I do everything I possibly can to get you on track, the one thing that I just kind of want to. Yeah, you're doing pretty good. I mean, you know, you told me to keep you on track before we started recording these things, and I am hyper cognizant that is largely what my responsibility is going to be here. But I think one thing that I just kind of want to say is that what we have been doing, Colette and I have been doing, is giving ourselves a syllabus. She referenced it earlier, of matches that we want to watch around this, and I think that. At some point, I would love to figure out ways to like make those public before we actually, you know, start recording. We'll figure that portion out. But I do think there's like a lot of supplemental work that also goes into sort of making these cases. And I think Cena is such an interesting one because I think there's so much outside of the in-ring work that influences the in-ring work. In WWE
for him in particular, like he's. Both like as like a promo and as like a marketing product.
Yeah.
Like, or as like a pitch man for WWE.
Yes. In ways that sort of evolved with the company. You know, I think that's one of the more fascinating things that like I think about when I think about Cena's career. And part of the reason why I wanted to do him is his in-ring career has just ended. So it's pretty recent in my memory, the lived experience of being a wrestling fan during what was his last run, while simultaneously a Japanese wrestler who he's been compared to, or who has been compared to him, especially in terms of how about how that wrestler relates to the mythos and ideological framework of the company and Hiroshi Tanahashi, with both of them retiring right next to each other and their retirement matches being a few weeks from each other. And, you know, I know you're not as in the weeds with modern wrestling as I am, although like I'm noticing that changing a lot since we started this podcast. And I think that's for the best for my mental health. But all to essentially say is that I think that there's just, I prior to this last run, I was willing to sort of say Cena is not a wrestler for me, but I can understand where his greatness is coming from. After the last year, I'm unsure. And I think that's part of the fun of this is that I really kind of I get to get in the weeds with somebody who like lived and was a target member of that audience for at least some period of time pre-transition.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's like there's such an interesting thing about who WWE was for post merger. Or post the defeat of WCW, post colonization of North American wrestling, however you want to frame it, right? But I think what's really interesting to me is that, like, when I kind of think of it, I don't know how these errors end up actually getting logged, but since a large part of my argument that I'm aiming to make in this podcast is whether or not the subject was able to make me feel a strong emotional reaction in a bunch of different contexts. For somebody like Goldberg, we have a few, right? Like there's him in WCW in the 90s versus WWF, Japan. Another one who we both have pretty high on our list in terms of like the greatest wrestler ever project that just went on. We both have Shibata pretty high. That's somebody who I feel a very strong emotional response to in a variety of different contexts in Japan and America, even in AEW, his early AEW stuff. Like, I mean, I bawled uncontrollably when his theme song hit the original Forbidden Door. I know it's the same for you because we were texting about it. I think Cena is such an interesting person because, like, there's mostly one context in one company that had shifting ideologies throughout his 20-year career. And to kind of see like what WWE has become now, and to know full well that his role in shaping what the company is today is so significant in ways that are detrimental to so many folks who are trying to make a name for themselves in the same way that he is. He just seems like such a fascinating case to go through in that regard. And I think that's really the thing that I'm excited about here, is that you have given me permission to ignore your sort of gimmick for this podcast, which is to make a case for somebody regardless of how you feel about them. But I think one of the things that I'm going to aim to do here for this to me is really just point out some of the things through my watching experience that I found to be fantastic about Cena, because a lot of them are very different than some of yours. Like, there are matches that you did not put on the syllabus that I did. And one of them, I don't even know if I've communicated it to you, but the RVD match was absolutely one of the ones that I went out of my way to watch during the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I actually watched it on the 20-year anniversary, which I was like really like completely accidentally. Like, I had no idea that that's what I was doing. I just pulled it up, plugged it into my spreadsheet, and was like, holy fucking shit, this was 20 years ago.
But, I did that with a couple things too. Like, I watched the debut against Angle this morning. I also watched his Velocity match against Bryan Danielson. Pre D-Bry. I watched, Cena versus Sabu, like just a bunch of different things. I think the point that you're making with the comparison to Tanahashi is really interesting. And like, I think that those two are comparable in a lot of ways. Most of which would purport to show Hiroshi Tanahashi in the more favorable light, I think. But like, interestingly to me, like the other person who retired around that same time was in Mexico. Elio Del Santo retired in early 2025 as well. And he's an interesting case, like, in the sense that when he retired, there was already a next man up, in the sense of like a generational box office draw in Mexico, and had been for a while in Místico. I don't know that there has been or will be a next man up for either Tanahashi or Cena, for a lot of reasons. And I think that part of it has to do with how strongly identifiable both wrestlers are with the company that they were the flag bearer for. Cena's interesting. Like, you asked how to divvy up like the eras. With WWE, it's all a matter of tragedy, I think. Like, there's you laugh, but like, the ruthless aggression era, quote unquote, which was not a real thing until relatively recently. Like, that started after the death of WCW and ECW, and ended when Chris Benoit murdered his wife and son and killed himself. And John Cena came up during the ruthless aggression era. Those are the first two words out of his mouth. Well, actually, I guess the first two words out of his mouth are "I'm John," and then the third was Cena, and then the fourth and fifth were ruthless aggression. But he said ruthless aggression, punched Kurt Angle, and got the ball rolling on his career. And he was the guy who pulled WWE through an era that very well and truly could have killed the company. I'm not like up on like actual business numbers or anything like that, but between the Benoit tragedy and the steroid scandal that rocked WWE shortly thereafter, things were not good. Things were not very good. And when most of the roster got suspended for steroids in 2008, like right after WrestleMania, John Cena somehow did not. And he and Shawn Michaels were there to wrestle an hour-long match on Raw. You know, like he is a guy who in one way or another is you know, he's not The Rock, but he's the rock upon which WWE like planted itself. He stayed when Batista left. He stayed when CM Punk left. He established, you know, he was the litmus test against which any new potential mid-card or like anyone looking to become a main eventer had to go up against. And a lot of them failed and a lot of them acquitted themselves very well. Like I think that there are a lot of surprisingly good matches against people that you would not think are very good, or that wouldn't be good against Cena. But there are, because like he was there. And it's one of those things that is like at once, like, I don't want to say that it's admirable, because I think that it would have been best for everyone had WWE gone out of business. Like it would have changed things drastically. Obviously, I don't think we'd be here having a podcast if WWE didn't, you know, exist today. Unfortunately, but I mean, like, what else? What would there have been? Like, who's trading Ring of Honor DVDs? Like, people were, but like, it's not like TNA was going to be like the steady bastion of American pro wrestling moving forward. Like that's just didn't exist. Like the framework for wrestling existing the way that it does now, I think would be impossible unless you were to go back in time to like 1997 and have Sting conclusively win at Starrcade. Failing that, WWE is here, and I think that a big reason for it being here is because John Cena established himself as such a steady presence. As you know, he would call himself this later in his career in a way that many people hated, but is in fact true. He was not wrong when he called himself the face that runs this place. Like he was the fucking ace of this company, and truly, like when you think about it in terms of how WWE works, like the first ace of that kind since Hogan departed in 93. But yeah, like the eras in which, like, I think that there's like 4, and like we have matches, I think, like kind of representing all of them. So, do we want to start in 2003? I was asking whether or not you'd seen the Kurt Angle match from 2002, just because like the thing that I was struck by in watching it this morning was how fully baked a lot of his stuff is, like from the weird way that he gets into the ring. Like he gets into the ring like somebody who's never seen a wrestling ring before and is like trying to like Mr. Bean himself into the ring. He was doing that from match 1, and it's adorable. But like so many of his like his comebacks, his fire ups, like all of that stuff is like there from match 1. Like it's kind of uncanny. I think that is also like a big reason why I'm like, man, fuck the Firefly Funhouse match. It's like that 2002 match is sick, because it's like, wow, the one time WWE decides to take a risk on somebody, and it's like the right call. Like he had it. He fucking had it. He knew what he was doing from word one. Which is why I think like it's impossible for me to imagine that there was any truth to the story of him almost getting fired. Like, dude, they let you go out there and like have a great 12-minute match against like a dude who tapped out Hulk Hogan the night before. You were gonna stick around. Like, sorry, like that's like The Rock telling people that he had $7 to his name and that he was gonna quit wrestling to make 6 figures in Pride. Like, fuck off, dude. Like, that's not how time, space, or World Wrestling Entertainment work. So yeah, saying all of that, we kind of started our syllabus after John Cena discovers hip hop.
But do you want to spend any time talking about that beginning match? I do think, because I do think I feel like now I want to like at least say a few things about the Cena match and ask, or the Angle match, and ask you one specific question about something you just said. So about your point about him coming out fully baked, yes, 100%. The only thing this man is lacking is a pair of jorts. But besides that, this is somebody who is moving around the ring with the keen sense of awareness that he has. This is not somebody who ever takes a minute off There are a lot of wrestlers these days who I often watch, and I feel like I want to like jump through my television screen and like shake them and say, you realize you're performing in front of people, correct? Those are criticisms we could say for other episodes, but that's not something that ever happens with Cena. Whether or not I ever find him compelling or not, a different story, but you at least know in match one, this is somebody who realizes part of being a babyface or being an underdog in the situation against a stalwart in Angle is that I have to really lean into my comebacks in a way that are very fiery and very charged. My movements have to look very specific and determined. I can't just walk across the ring to grab somebody by the back of the neck. I have to sprint there, throw my entire body into a lariat, throw my entire body into a splash in the corner. And I'm interested to find out how many times I end up arguing against myself by points you bring up on this podcast, but on this episode specifically. But that I think is just like one of the things. You're 100% right. He comes out looking exactly like the same person he is going to look like 3 years later when he's like winning his first title. But the thing I wanted to just ask really quick about what you did say is you did say that he is the right person to put this like the shot with. Now, neither of us were watching at the time, but I do know that class that he was coming out of from OVW was like, pretty ballyhooed. Mm-hmm. What does he have that makes him the right person coming out to get this opportunity?
Well, I think that what he has on Batista is that Batista has already debuted, and he's green as hell. Like he's Devon's Deacon, right? Deacon Batista. Mm-hmm. So you can't have Kurt Angle wrestle Frankenstein wearing like a priest frock or whatever. That's not going to be so good. When does Randy Orton debut? He might have already debuted. Like I think he might have wrestled on that episode of SmackDown, in fact.
I think he has.
But I think that the thing that Cena had on all those, like on the other two major, like, people who hadn't yet made a mark for themselves out of that OVW class, Lesnar already had, obviously. Mm-hmm. Is surprise. Cena had never appeared on television before. He had been kind of biding his time. Like I think that he had been working dark matches. There has to be somewhere footage of the dark match that's like him and like Horace Hogan and like Mike Awesome on a team, like the craziest Fire Pro 6-man tag team I've ever heard of. But like, he like that's what he had basically, was that he had not been anywhere yet. Like he had no family name like Randy Orton. He had no television exposure like Batista. And also, like, I think that, like, so far as body composition is concerned too, like Cena looked more like clean cut and like normal than Batista. And more generic than Orton at the time, I would say. Sure. Which like leans into what Michael Cole and Taz go through on commentary, where they're like, this is a kid who's like worked himself up through the system. He's just a guy looking for an opportunity. No one knows who he is. Like, wow, he's doing really good. Oh my God. Like he has a great clothesline. Like, whoa, he kicked out of this. And like, he's counted the ankle lock. Like it's basically like, it's something that I think also sets up Kurt Angle better for like the back half of his WWE career, because he's going to be doing a lot of open challenges from here on out. They had so many ideas for Kurt Angle. Like, so Cena's like a good baseline for that, because he looks like a creator wrestler at that point. He's the prototype. And like I don't know who else they had at the time. Like I don't know if like the Damager was back there waiting for his turn to get called up, or if he had already been made into like an S&M King Freak or whatever. Like that's just who they had, and like I think that it was a great call, because like Cena when you go and you find some of the footage of him from back then, and he's like showing you all the tapes that like Jim Cornette forced him to take home, it's all like, here's like, you know, the ace, like whoever, someone in Japan, or like here's like the best of Sting and like all this other stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, like this is a guy who has been studying tape of like ace figurehead wrestlers slaying demons. And Kurt Angle is a demon at this point. Like he's a goofball who like was wearing a wig, but like again, he also made Hulk Hogan tap out, which is something that I think it only happened like 2 or 3 times in Hogan's career. Like even Brock Lesnar, I think like Lesnar beat him with a bear hug, but Hogan passed out in it. Like Hogan tapped out, which is like nuts. So for him to do that and then take like him to the next level is really impressive. And like there's a lot of Sting in what he's doing, and
Yeah, sure.
to the extent that he does the Stinger splash in the match, yeah, like there was no one else. I really think that like if you would have picked anybody else in that role, it would have been a total flop. And Cena like just really went for it.
You don't think Paul London would have done well? They had Paul London in the back. You could have had Paul London do this.
He's a different kind of cat.
Should have been Paul London.
It should have been Paul London. Just imagine.
This is gonna be. How can I bring up? I have to figure out a way to either bring up Matt Seidel, Jack Evans, or Paul London in every episode. So okay, I got that taken out of. All right, I don't think I'm gonna be able to touch on the other two. I know he wrestled Matt Seidel at some point, but that's not our syllabus, unfortunately. Damn it, another failure on our part.
Yeah. Evan Bourne, please. Let's use Fed names when we're talking about the Fed.
That's true. Yeah, my apologies. I'm sure he would appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
No, I think that's fair. Orton had debuted, hadn't done a whole lot at this point. Again, I'm not watching at all at this point, which is what's so interesting about coming back to this era and watching it. I think that for me, the match that like I have the most to say about is the RVD one. So if there's anything from the syllabus you want to spend a little bit of time talking about, ask me questions about, or just making points about, generally speaking. I don't know if I have a ton to say about many of them.
Yeah.
But I think that's fair to do. And I also just wonder if I have, surprisingly enough, watched the episode where he did debut his rap gimmick within the last 18 months. So if we want to, I don't know if we're just going to stick to solely in ring stuff here, but if you wanted to devote any time to that Thanksgiving episode, we absolutely could.
Was it Thanksgiving? I thought it was Halloween.
It's Halloween because he is rapping about everyone's costumes.
Right. Yeah. John Cena's rap gimmick is fucking terrible. Except for the parts on Velocity. He's great on Velocity because he doesn't really rap. Like he just comes out to the ring in like yellow cargo pants and like crosses his arms super tough and goes and like says like he goes, "I'm hard" into the camera, like, you know, not meaning it the way that I mean it, but meaning it in the other way that hard means, I guess. Unless he's got a real big boner for wrestling Akio, I don't know. But I think that the rap gimmick is bad because like it's one of those things where when people would talk about how The Rock was going to run for president, all I could think about was like how easy it would be to just run ads that were like The Rock being a massive homophobe and bigot like on wrestling, and like John Cena did the same thing, only it rhymed in like the like, "My name's John Cena and I'm here to say I'm gonna put my dick and balls in your mouth in a major way." Yeah. Like, yeah, like it's bad, and it's embarrassing every time he brings it back. I have no nostalgia for it. I think also that like it allows Vince McMahon to live out his like weird like fantasies of what it must be like to be black but through a white person, which famously leads to Vince McMahon dropping the N-word on an episode of Raw that takes place in Detroit in like I think 2006 that Booker T has to stooge for. I think the gimmick is bad. But the way that it works though is that it allows him to get under the skin of more established wrestlers who have no reason to take him seriously otherwise, because like when he finds that gimmick, it is still as somebody who is on the come up. He doesn't have a finish yet. Like his finish before he wrestles Brock Lesnar and does the like, you got the F5, I've got the FU thing. Which that's one of my favorite things about Cena is how all of his finishers are basically like reactions to other people's shit. Like the STFU is like, I'm in a submission match, but I don't have a submission. Now I do. But like the what the rap thing allows is for him to burrow under the skin of people who otherwise would just ignore this motherfucker. Like, who gives a shit? Like he's a rookie. I have no reason to give a fuck. Oh, wait, what did you say about Latino people in your really terrible rap? Well, now I'm going to fight you in a parking lot. I'm Eddie Guerrero, motherfucker. Like, like, he does it to Chris Benoit. He does it to The Undertaker. He does it to Angle. Like, he does it to Lesnar. Like, that is how, like, Cena is able to start building a name for himself. The fact that anyone has nostalgia for that to the point that he has to bring it back when he like really needs to like dig deep and like let The Rock know that he's not Mr. Fruity Pebbles or whatever, like that's pathetic. But yeah, like where Cena really starts to come into his own for me is when he gets drafted to Raw, like after winning the world title, and like kind of becoming the face of Raw, which they kind of they screwed the pooch on that, because the way that he did it was to basically chase Christian and Chris Jericho out of WWE, which was not a way to endear people like long-term fans to the notion of John Cena as being like your main guy. So while I think that like it's his 2006 to 2007 that is like a pretty unassailable run for him, there's a lot of good matches from 2002 to 2005, and some of those may or may not be at the expense of more beloved figures in wrestling, one of whom in Christian is actually good, and the other of whom in Chris Jericho is just really good at making people believe. So yeah, there's plenty to dig into with Cena, but I think that your instinct to start with RVD is a smart one, because that also allows us to talk about John Cena taking that fucking gorgeous springboard leg drop from Sabu, which is one of my favorite moments in the history of WWF, WWE, TKO.
And so that
UFC.
Oh god, yeah, that's true. We gotta throw that acronym in there now. So that was your first match back to watching wrestling after, or well, you came back for the original One Night Stand, and then
I was there for McFoley. Like in 2006, I was watching McFoley. Like I watched McFoley's match against Edge at WrestleMania and was like, holy shit. Like Mick still got it, baby. The greatest to ever do it. Then you know, his feud against Terry Funk, and you know, to a much lesser degree Tommy Dreamer, is like truly captivating stuff. Like people have been posting it over the last couple of months because it's the 20th anniversary, and like a lot of it is Foley and Funk doing like their greatest hits, and Foley kind of reprising his anti-hardcore stuff. But like on top of that, you have like you're looking at like the ECW that was like just freshly available to everybody because of all these like ECW DVDs that had been coming out. And then you had like the promise of Rob Van Dam, you know, maybe finally winning the WWE championship, which he should have done in like 2001. Yeah, like he should have beat Stone Cold and Kurt Angle at King of the Ring 2001. Like they fucked that up so bad, and there was no real like reversing course or winning or fixing it or whatever. But 2006 is about as close as they came, because like I really think that like, again, the idea of John Cena as like the face of WWE, which didn't matter to me in 2006 because who fucking cares? I'm here to see ECW.
Right.
Like is is so perfect to put him next to, if not the face of ECW, the guy who you're positioning as the face of the next run of ECW. He is an incredible launch pad for this doomed ship that is the ECW on Sci-Fi Project. And I think that Cena plays his role magnificently. Like I think
Oh
that
God, yes.
like if anything, like they should have done more of it. There's a bit in, and we can talk about One Night Stand, but there's a bit in the Vengeance Lumberjack match against Sabu where like it's the worst crew of lumberjacks of all time. Here for Raw is like Matt Stryker, fucking like the tag team champions, like the Southern dudes or whatever, like Trevor Murdoch and like Lance Cade and Viscera. Like Viscera saves John Cena from like a triple jump moonsault at one point, and it's like, this sucks. Like, this is how little you guys think about ECW. And then like the ECW crew, of course, is like Al Snow, Tommy Dreamer, fucking, I don't
All
know,
the
Little
stars.
Guido, who like rules.
Little
Yeah,
Guido.
it's a real all the stars are here situation, except for the Sandman, who is a legitimate star. Like there's a camera shot on the Sandman just sneering for like 30 seconds, and it's like, how did they not make this guy the fucking champion immediately? Like, how is he not the guy? Like, he does like a home run swing on Cena, like with the cane, that is so fucking joyous. It made me scream. And like Cena is like so game for all of it. Like he is ready and willing to do, like, I think that the thing that Cena is so talented at, and this is true of most of his classic matches, is he is able to figure out, like, he is so certain of who he is that he can figure out how to apply that against the strengths and weaknesses of just about anybody he faces, no matter how far afield from, you know, the UPW training facility / like WWE factory he's been part of his whole life is. Like, he knows how to like maximize the skills and abilities of his opponents in a way that nobody else on his level cares to do, really.
What a great point for me to eventually try to get back to at some point when we're talking about some of these other matches. I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just interested in hearing you say more about it. In this instance, though, with RVD, I could not agree more. The thing that I really appreciate about Cena and RVD is that, from my perspective, I just think Cena is absolutely at his best when he's forced to play a reluctant heel. So he is remaining a babyface, but he is in a hostile territory. He's in a place that doesn't necessarily want to accept him. I think when I really started to really understand and identify the greatness that Cena has, it was in that Money in the Bank match with Punk in 2011, right? That's right year? I'm bad at that.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. But yeah, I always just sort of like really appreciate and enjoy when he has to just kind of brush against the grain. So he has this image. He's probably the most self-aware wrestler of all time, I would think. I don't know if there's anyone who is aware of how digestible their bullshit is to a certain subset of folks, and how despicable and undigestible it is to another subset. He's just such a great politician in that regard. But yeah. I think that it's really that level of self-awareness that like just really makes him so fucking good in this match. Like, and my favorite bit of it is before the bell even rings. It's just like, just a t-shirt, right? Like, so like he takes his shirt off, he throws it to the crowd, they throw it right back at him. He could have given it up on throwing it back to the crowd like after 2 or 3 times, but it's 6 times that he takes his shirt off and tosses it into the crowd, only to get the crowd hotter and hotter every time they're throwing it back. But the security guard throwing it back at him and just flashing him the fucking middle finger. It's just like, fuck me.
That's like the most emphatic middle fingers in wrestling history too. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin didn't flip people off that hard.
No, there was no pretense in that match, right? Like it's an audience that is just seeing. And it's a fun thing, right? Like you brought up the DVDs and the releases of it. And as somebody who, like, you know, lived through ECW, and then like I hear a lot of people say like ECW is my favorite promotion, and I realize what they're talking about is the sci-fi ECW, and I'm just like, what the fuck? That's a completely
Wait, are they?
Yeah, that has happened. Some of the younger folks.
Wow, some Jack Swagger shooters out there.
Yeah, most Punk especially.
He was there for like a year.
Yeah, but it's enough to lie about, and I think that's the key about WWE fandom, especially of this era, is to pretend that you were present for a lot of it. We'll get into that again. I think this is the perfect person to kind of talk about a lot of those things. But I do just think like this match is just like it's somebody who just like completely hated, completely despised, in front of an audience who, whether or not they were there from the jump, they've adopted RVD as their person. They fully recognize full well that the machinations of WWE have prevented him from getting the opportunity to take the ball and run with it. And he's just sort of like, Cena is given this like just blank canvas to deal with all this like hostility, and just like what a fucking masterpiece this entire match is.
It's great. It's so good. Like that it paints other wrestlers who faced similar things in a negative light. Like Hulk Hogan didn't handle crowd hostility very well, and very famously, like the exact same thing happened to Cody Rhodes in AEW with his weight belt, which is such a dickish thing to throw into the crowd, by the way. That shit's heavy. It's got a metal buckle on it. What the fuck are you doing, Cody Rhodes? He throws that shit out into the crowd. Crowd throws it back. He throws it out. They throw it back. Then Cody Rhodes leaves AEW. He can't handle it. Like, he can't handle the heat. John Cena fucking created that heat. He didn't have to do any of that shit. Like, you're right. He could have just folded the shirt, put it in the corner, like done whatever, and just had the same match with RVD, and it would have been good, except for the Edge interference, because Rob Van Dam should have won that match cleanly. But you can't help booking. You can't help Vince being a coward. It's crazy that he was that much of a coward like a month before the Benoit stuff too. Like, or a whole year. I'm thinking June, July. But like, there was no reason to not have Rob Van Dam go over clean in that match. And I think that might have been the first time that Cena and Van Dam had wrestled too.
Yes, I was just looking. Let me go confirm. I want to see their entire match history. According to Cage Match, I know it's not always accurate.
I mean, it'll be mostly accurate. I don't think that they would have had much of an opportunity to wrestle before then.
No, I don't think so either. I navigated away from it to look at Paul London, as I'm wont to do. Rivalries database matches. That is their first match.
Okay. Can I make a claim about John Cena then? That is important to what is coming later in his career.
Please.
There are, I think, no wrestlers quite as good as John Cena is at the first time versus X match. Like, he is on, like, he knows the significance of his first match with just about every wrestler he wrestles, and makes sure that from like opening bell of that first match that there is something special, something signature, something that people will remember for the rest of however long their interaction is going to be going forward. He is such a good first time ever dream match wrestler, I guess is the way to put it. Like, the John Cena US title open challenge is like based on the premise of RVD versus Cena, which is, wow, these guys have never wrestled before. Wouldn't it be fucking crazy if it happened? I wonder how their weird styles would mesh. You get that with like his WWE Championship match against Rey Mysterio, though I think they maybe wrestled when he was a heel on SmackDown. They did, but it was like,
I'm noticing too, they did wrestle one other time before this, so unfortunately, it's okay.
No.
I mean, your point is still relevant for other matches. We could just we'll just hyperimpose and start talking about it with Umaga.
Yeah,
that's a good example.
But like he's also really good at building on what came before as well. Like he's a good callback wrestler, which I think is especially true with Umaga. Which, you know, I'm down to, like, I don't really have anything else to say about Cena Van Dam that you did. Like, I think that it's a great match. I think that it's unfortunate really that there wasn't more of Cena versus ECW, just because like I know that like the safe road and all of that would have been to have had him wrestle Big Show and Kurt Angle for the 450th time.
Yeah.
But maybe he wrestles Amish Roadkill, you know?
911.
Yeah. Cena versus 911 is a dream match to me.
That'd be
you know,
fucking, yeah.
John Cena shows up on ECW on Sci-Fi and says, "The champ is here. I will wrestle any ECW wrestler I've never wrestled before." And out comes El Porto Ricano. Like, let's fucking go. There was more road to hoe with the Tribe of Extreme, as they were calling it in those days. Which makes them sound like a lost tribe of Israel. You know, the 13th house, descending from Mount Horeb with barbed wire and Singapore canes to visit Old Testament style justice on John Cena.
Oh man, that's a hit. We're gonna have to turn that into a Instagram short.
Yeah, we're like, fuck, John Cena versus Mick Foley in 2006. Where's that? Fuck you, Vince McMahon. More John Cena versus ECW.
Yeah,
he did.
The last thing I will say about that match is that it is the first instance in which I see Cena responding to a "You can't wrestle" chant.
Yeah,
and like his response to it is just so fucking sick. Like he just hits that fisherman suplex, just turns around and just like soaks it all in. And it's just like.
But meanwhile, like back in like Stanford or wherever the fuck they're hanging out, like Triple H and Shawn Michaels are pretending not to watch this pay-per-view, but they're like rubbing their hands together, like, yeah, we're gonna get this motherfucker. We're gonna get him. This is how DX comes back, and it's fucking not, because Triple H can't wrestle, and Shawn Michaels can't help himself. He's a very ponderous soul.
Thank you for taking the Shawn Michaels match off the syllabus. I definitely don't want to watch an hour-long Shawn Michaels match this week.
I think that Shawn Michaels Cena match from the UK is really good. I have not seen it in a while, and I'm glad that I didn't have to rewatch it, because I just get to, I get to take the better angels of my nature and just say, there's a good Shawn Michaels match from his horrific return run that completely ruined wrestling for the rest of time. And it's against John Cena, because John Cena is a better wrestler than Shawn Michaels. But I took it off the syllabus out of the kindness of my heart. And I also did not want to watch WrestleMania 23, because they probably talk about Donald Trump so fucking much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that, before we get to WrestleMania 23, before we get to the Shawn Michaels match, before we get to anything, like, we're not talking about him versus Triple H either. I think that like a stop on the road, that all must visit if they are to, look upon John Cena's works and tremble, is his series against Umaga, from early 2007, specifically. The one that we have on our playlist is from New Year's Revolution, but the one that everyone knows and loves, and that I think is a fairly strong candidate for one of the best WWE matches of this era and of this style, and of Cena's career, really, is the match against Umaga from Royal Rumble 2007, with like the ring destruction spot at the end where he's choking him out with the ring ropes.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll swap that into the playlist too.
This is something that you did not agree with me on, though. This is earlier on when we were talking, and I was like, I don't know why you did this to yourself. I think that it was when I messaged you about the Umaga match, and you were like, Vince McMahon should be arrested. And I said, sure, but for this or for any number of other offenses,
any night, any night.
I've written about this match in a couple of different places. I hold it in extremely high regard. I think that it builds very tidily on all of their interactions, both on Raw, because if you remember, the first Raw of that year, I think Cena wrestles like Kevin Federline or some shit, and like Umaga costs Cena the match. I might have that wrong in my head. But like there's a lot of Umaga Cena, because the only thing that Vince McMahon knows at this point in his life is that 10 years prior to this, he made a lot of money by being a dipshit authority figure who hated his cash cow. So he's doing it again against John Cena and wants Umaga, who, like, great wrestler, but like 1980s Samoan Savage throwback character, probably not poster child for your company. Just thinking about it, like, I remember him with like the Intercontinental title and he's holding it with his teeth. Like, that's how he held the title. Like, this is what Vince McMahon, was like in character saying that he wanted to be the face of his company was a racist stereotype. Said racist stereotype had a lot of sick matches though. And several of them were against John Cena. And, like the notion of the Royal Rumble match being that, like, Cena had found ways to escape Umaga by the skin of his teeth, holding the title still. How are we going to make him lose? Oh, I know. We're going to make it so that it's a last man standing match. Like, there's no way that Cena can knock this dude out for 10 seconds. There's no way that he can get him to quit. Like, it's in the bag. Like, this dude is way too fucking strong. And I think that it's one of those things where, like, if you watch all the stuff that leads up to it, particularly the New Year's Revolution match, which is very good, it just shows how smart Cena is when it comes to match layout and when it comes to referring back to old ideas. And it's something that plays out over the course of this 2007 because he wrestles a lot of monster characters, including the great Khali. But I want to hear from you on this match. I am on the record as thinking that this is a fantastic match for Cena, for Umaga, really for WWE. Like, this is a style of wrestling that WWE will soon not be partaking much of like in the future, just because things change in August 2007. So yeah, where are you at on this? Because this is like one of the canonical Cena matches.
Yes, and I'm glad that this was on our syllabus because I feel like it has to be. I think that out of everything that Big Egg has produced, in terms of reading especially like when I'm reading matches that are about workers who I don't particularly feel a strong way about, this is the one, like, to me, this is as like much of a pinnacle of a Big Egg match. It's almost, as much of it's a John Cena canonical match, it's also a Big Egg canonical match to me. Is it on y'all's 5-star list?
We didn't cover it for Big Egg. I covered it as bonus material.
Got it. Okay, so has Joseph just like talked about it like in random other places then? I could have swore I read something about him.
Here, while you talk about that, I'll look up and see if Joseph.
Okay. No, I will do that, and I'll talk about it for a little bit, and I'm glad. So there was another thing that you said on a podcast. Well, let me save. Okay, there's a thing you said on a podcast that we were on before we did that you were on before we started this podcast. I don't necessarily know if it was on the episode of I Own People that you guested on, or if it was on
Joseph did give
tapes.
us 5 stars.
He did. Okay. Yeah. So I know Joseph has talked about it a lot, outside of even just that write up. But you said something on another podcast of our, like, that you've been on recently, where you said that, like, wrestling is for kids, right? Like, and like a lot of people push back against that sometimes, but at its core it is, right? Like, it's a silly form of entertainment that's like largely meant to appeal to children. And I think that's like very true here in America. Even with AEW, as much as folks would like to pretend otherwise, I think it's still 100% accurate. Like, there wouldn't be Mercedes Moné's puppets. There wouldn't be people talking about whether or not AEW dropped the ball on Danhausen. If like Orange Cassidy obviously has an appeal to children for completely understandable reasons.
Weirdly, I think it's adults who are into the puppets and Danhausen, but
that's a good, very fair, very fair. Alvarez talks about how much his kids love the Outrunners, largely because they wear pink
and they love cigarettes.
Yes. It was an interesting. As soon as he started saying that, they rolled out the Newport gear, which I found to be really interesting. But I do push back against that a little bit. That wrestling is inherently for kids. In terms of like modern product, anyone who's hears me on VP knows that I mostly prefer Joshi wrestling over anything else. And if that has taught me anything, like examining all of the history of Japanese women's wrestling, it's that wrestling is for two different types of men, or two different types of people.
Two different types of men, children and women.
Well, no, right. No, Japanese incels and hot bitches. Okay. If you ever watch a DDT show, you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about in that regard. Right. So I think that's like one of the things though, is that when I came back to like watching wrestling and like what like would really hook me on it was not WWE. And every time I've tried to come back to WWE, I'll dip in really quick. I'll latch on to something. And then within like 6 or 7 months, I'm just like, the repetitive nature of it is just like, it's cooked for me. And I think one of the things that the Umaga match does, which is something you've brought up here, is something that doesn't speak to me all that well, which is the idea of like building in like matches that build on top of each other. I'm in no which way opposed to any match that is referential to another wrestling match. I love that shit. I'm absolutely a big fan of it. I do adore Easter eggs and stuff of that nature. But I think that one of the things that I dislike about WWE so much is rooted in it's in capitalism more than anything else. But at the end of the day, when you hear it like, no, but it just in terms of their presentation, it's that what they are doing is making the longest running weekly television program of all time.
Sure.
And essentially, like when you think about the nature of that, it does have to mimic like a sitcom, or not a sitcom, my apologies, a soap opera. Where storylines get dropped and picked up for new ones. And I think that one of the things that's just always difficult for me when it comes to just like watching WWE, Handwork talks about this a lot. To really like understand like wrestling, you do have to kind of understand, the entire context of it. And like, like watching a year-long watch project is something that he's been advocating for a while. And it's something that I always push back against. But from my perspective, to really like sort of understand payoff about a lot of these Cena matches, you really do have to understand like the full context of these things. And it's like I was really like tickled by like almost everything in the early sections of our syllabus. Every one of these matches has a quote, the story of video essay on YouTube as well. I don't know if you knew that or not. Like even the Bobby Lashley one, there's the story of John Cena and Bobby Lashley,
which that match is awesome. I think that I did not see that match until like this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, like that one, Joseph recommended that one. When I was like asking for some Cena matches, because again, like that was from like an era where like I wasn't watching super regularly outside of ECW on Sci-Fi. I'm the person who liked ECW on Sci-Fi. Everyone else who's pretending can go straight to hell. But yeah, like that match is a motherfucker of a match. I really liked it. WWE managed to fumble Bobby Lashley in 2 eras.
Oh God,
that's crazy. But I just totally interrupted you because I was very excited about the Bobby Lashley match.
Very okay, because it also makes me realize like I almost feel like we should record like a kind of bonus episode at some point, because we didn't talk about Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg either. And
no, we didn't. Here's when we're going to do it, is when we do Patron Saints of 600 Bitches episode 147 about Bobby Lashley.
All right, mark your calendars.
Yeah, there's always time. There's always time to talk about these things. We'll be doing this forever.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Till we're dead, which will be we'll live forever, just like Hulk Hogan. But no, we were talking about Umaga, and I think that the point of the last man standing match is true, right? Like I think that there was kind of an interesting thing that was happening around this time, where like almost every one of these like big blow off matches did involve a gimmick, and it involves gimmick matches in ways that like sort of like devalue gimmick matches. Is that like I think American wrestling fans are still feeling to this day, right? Like
I think that this is a big criticism that you can level at John Cena for sure. Like he's a big last man standing match guy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a lot of his feuds escalate to the point where they need to be blown off in a last man standing match. I think the only reason that the Khali one doesn't is because they had figured out, well, what if we just had him do like the fucking FU off of a crane or whatever?
Right.
So it's a false count anywhere match, which is basically a last man standing match.
Last man standing, yeah.
Like, yeah, no,
to the point where I just got him confused in my head. Like,
yeah. I kind of also was like, when I was trying to think about this match and setting it up, was like, was this last man standing or was this I quit? Because that's also a John Cena specialty, is like there's that one John Cena I quit match where I forget who it's against, but it's so fucking funny, where like every time something happens to Cena, the referee's like, John, do you quit? And John just goes, no. No. Like he just like robot no sells it, is like, no. Like he won't, like it's so weird. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's like, I think that's I don't know if that's a criticism. I know that I just said that this is something that you can lay at Cena's feet, but like I also think that is just like, that's WWE booking. Like that's
exactly.
Like,
and that's,
you know, every feud is a 3 pay-per-view cycle. How do we get to a third pay-per-view? Like even Batista, like the bloodless last man standing match. Like I don't even think that's the last one, because like there's I was at Over the Limit, I think, follows Extreme Rules. That one might be an I Quit match. That might be the one that I'm thinking about, where Cena just no sells every time. That pay-per-view also has like the great hair versus mask match between Mysterio and Punk, where Punk like blades and like is bleeding so much that they don't show any of it on the camera at all. It's because they weren't doing blood at the time. It's that fucking
rocked. Yeah,
it's so good.
I haven't seen that one in a while. Yeah, that match is really
like,
good.
You know, I'm getting off topic, but yeah, it's just a thing where like we have to have this match go to 3 matches, and there's only 2 ways to make like that. You're either wrestling another brawler guy, in which case it's going to be a hardcore match of some sort, or you're wrestling a technical guy, in which case it's either going to be Iron Man or 2 out of 3 falls. Like that's WWE booking at the time, and like it's widespread and company wide. And I think that honestly, to some extent, it's to Cena's credit that he manages to make it as interesting as he does, as late into his career as he does. Against Umaga, I think it's early enough that it doesn't affect me at all. Like it's just a fucking good match. It's so good. I gave it 4 3/4, by the way, so I'm a more discerning viewer than Joseph.
I'm at 3+ on it. Have been for the last 3 years. Yep, I keep trying to go back to it and try to like look at it with new eyes. And to see if I could bump it up more, and I just haven't been able to. And I do think that part of the reason why I wanted to watch the New Year's Revolution match is that, to that point about like, you know, just the cyclical nature and the 3 pay-per-view match cycle, I felt like I needed to get some context like beyond it. I wasn't gonna watch 3 Umaga matches. I do think your point about like the racial stereotypes is something that like I wanted to bring up earlier, that like is always difficult for me to kind of wrestle with when it comes to Cena. Is that like, to me, post collapse of WCW, largely WWE until recently, and even this might be arguable as well, I've always viewed it as if it is booked with one purpose, one man, with an audience of one in mind, and that one audience is Vince McMahon's id. And I think that's like
that's
sort of
true.
like I think that's always the challenge of it for me, is that like it's really hard for me to like separate everything like about how, like, you know, like once he wins that war, he immediately like pivots into sexualizing women to parody, although it is most likely, as I'm sure we'll find out in coming years, the reality of like what he's doing, like basically
Right.
like drugging his wife so that he could cheat on her and sexually harass his employees. And it's like one of those things which, like, I have such a hard time with that. I'm not going to sit here and make a moral case, because I know full well that you don't watch modern WWE for moral reasons. I completely support that. I've watched every one of these Cena matches. So it's like, I'm not aiming to make that case. What I'm aiming to say, though, more than anything else, is that like, it's difficult for me to just kind of like wrestle with like, there's so much you have to look past when it comes to like this era of WWE to actually like enjoy the matches themselves. And it's hard. And it's also hard to kind of just hop into like, do like a good, I like when I watch like Flair Funk 1989, right? Like I don't need the context to appreciate that I Quit match.
Yeah.
When I have it, it adds to it. But I could just watch that match and know it's a 5-star fucking match. I'm never able to do that with this era of Cena matches. And yeah, to your point, it's booking. It's not him. It's booking. But with him being the face of the company, it is such a hard thing to divorce, and that is something that like we're going to talk about.
That's the problem with being the ace, right? Like that's like, you know, you're as responsible for the successes of the company as you are the failures.
Yep.
I think that the thing, like, you're not wrong, obviously, but like it's one of those things where I think in terms of looking at someone's in-ring work, or looking at someone's like contributions to wrestling or whatever, like Umaga, and like, you know, Yokozuna, or anyone who's been put into like this sort of situation where they're either doing like a gimmick that is you know, racist, or they have been put in that gimmick racistly or whatever, is that the quality of the work that the wrestler is putting into it is something that I don't want to overlook. Like I think that Umaga is a fucking phenomenal wrestler. And I think that in Umaga, like if you are able to look past the fact that it's such a strange thing, because like this is like the Umaga gimmick is like a throwback to Vince McMahon Sr.'s WWF. Like I like Umaga's manager, like he's like a Palestinian dude playing a Cuban guy. Like it's so fucking weird. And it's also so like Grand Wizard, like Freddie Blassie, like old dude shit, Paul Jones's Army from the NWA. What I like about this match, and what I like about this rivalry, and I'll just like leave it at this, is that like the physicality of it is something that would have worked regardless of Umaga's gimmick. And I think that in Umaga, what John Cena finds is the big Van Vader to his Sting. And I don't say that lightly, because Big Van Vader versus Sting is one of my favorite rivalries in the history of wrestling. It is beyond unfortunate, like the baggage that you have to unpack for just about everybody in wrestling. You can't talk about Rey Mysterio winning, like Rey Mysterio versus JBL, without like the fucking promo where JBL is like hunting illegals at the border. You can't talk about Eddie Guerrero beating Brock Lesnar for the title without talking about Brock Lesnar dancing with a mariachi band and a giant sombrero. Like you can't talk about Kurt Angle without Kurt Angle saying that he wants to have bestiality sex with a black woman who is Booker T's wife. Like these are all horrific things that are not, at least I hope not, reflections of the people who have been tasked with playing these roles, but are, as you said, reflections of the person who is responsible for the creation, marketing, promotion, and execution of all of it. And Yeah, it is truly unfortunate. Because like right after this feud with Cena, Umaga ends up in a feud against Bobby Lashley, largely over which horrific billionaire that the world will be better off with as soon as both of them are dead, is going to lose their hair at WrestleMania. And there's a lot of good shit to talk about there too, because like there's that ECW cage match where like Umaga crushes a cage, right? Like he like knocks the cage wall down. Sick shit. I don't mean to get off of topic here, except to say that like, you know, like this is going to be part of the problem in talking about like the history of wrestling in general, especially about WWE. So like I'm glad that you're bringing this up, because like I think that it is extremely important to talk about. The thing that I will say about Cena is that for the most part, past his SmackDown run, it's not part of his character to comment on that stuff.
No, not at all. Yeah. He, and that, I mean, I won't get into that, but there's also, you know, we're talking about the era now when he's starting to salute, right? Like we're talking about the American flag era.
A lot of tributes to the troops going on.
A lot of tributing to the troops, yeah. But I do think that, like, at minimum, like what he is at least able to embody very well is that sort of like neutrality that largely I think American politicians want us to feel about the country. It's a very
also Vince McMahon wanted you to buy the Marine on DVD. That's the main part. It has nothing to do with the country. It's got everything to do with WWE Films Presents The Marine, which came out.
We're not talking about 12 rounds either, too. That's a really big failure on our part.
But I mean, like the Marine is a changing point for Cena because that came out in October of 2006. So like post,
sure.
Like I don't think that he's kissing dog tags in the ECW arena or you know, Hammerstein Ballroom. You know, like he doesn't do that until later. Like that's a big shift for him. And it starts around this time, I think, and it is you know, speaking charitably here, pretty fucking stupid.
I think one thing too that you brought up that to kind of get us like away from like the socio-political portions of wrestling, which I know is going to be difficult for me and you specifically to do on a weekly basis. Yeah. But to try to center us back on this, I think your point to Umaga is that like I do think that like one of the things that like sort of is not great for Cena's case and is like sort of a hurdle for him to overcome is that like to your point about the company being unable to book a face of or find the face of the company the same way they found one with John Cena. They have not been able to find like a heel in the same way, nor have they been able to find like heels that like are elevated to the same level that some of the folks that like Hogan was facing in like the like late 80s, 90s. Like there's no Sheik. Right. Like, right. In modern days. So I think like with Umaga, you get like one of the best examples of like doing the best to like lean into like what makes him so talented, which is like harkening back to like some of the like, you know, like the Haku era of Samoan lineage. And he really does like sort of like bring out like those qualities like in the ring.
Yeah, more like the Afa. Not to correct you, but more like the Afa and Sika. Haku was Tongan, but also the Islanders, as presented by WWE, were a different kind of racist gimmick where they were intelligent and not savage. Haku was more of a savage character in WCW.
Got it. That's definitely. I'm definitely thinking about WCW in that regard.
Yeah, you're thinking about like the Head Shrinkers and the Wild Samoans, like that style, yes. Which you know they're all part of the bloodline. So
yeah, completely. Do you want to speak about the Great Khalil match?
I mean, I think that the Great Khali, I did earlier, in the sense that like it was such a head trip to see people respond to a wrestler in that way without actually being in the same building as the wrestler. I had never seen that before. And honestly, I haven't since, outside of Cena and like maybe CM Punk, but I'm forgetting whether or not I saw Money in the Bank at my house or at a bar. I think that the Khali match is one of those, again, like it's a feather in Cena's cap because Great Khali is whatever I have to say about him, which is that he's the greatest wrestler of all time. Like he is limited because he is very large and like very mobile, like in a way that if you are a smart person who knows how to present your body against like the perception of another person's body, you can do something with. The Khali matches, the last man or the Falls Count Anywhere match being chief among them, I think are master classes of John Cena doing just that. This is a match that both Joseph and I covered on Big Egg, so like my full thoughts are out there on it. But like there's that old wrestling adage of like, you know, this person is so good that they could wrestle a broomstick sort of thing. And while I think that that is a very uncharitable way to look at most wrestlers who I suppose fit in the broomstick role, Cena does things with Khali that I don't think any other wrestler in WWE at the time was capable of.
That feels fair. That feels entirely fair.
It's like, honestly, like thinking of like major Great Khali matches of that time. I think Rey Mysterio has a really good one. I think Kane has a decent one, which is insane. The fact that I think Kane has like a top Great Khali match is nuts. But like otherwise, like you're looking at people who like look at someone like Khali not as a challenge or like not as something to solve, but as something that they've been burdened with and have no hope against. And I think that is something that John Cena never does. Maybe not never. Like there are some like wrestlers that Cena does not do much with. Like I think that his feud against the Nexus is one of those things where like he doesn't see it in anyone and does not give them the time of day. Mr. Kennedy was like one of those dudes. But like Khali was somebody who Cena saw saw an opportunity to like make something with and did so reliably. Like I think he has 3 matches against Khali and all 3 of them are quite good. And like those matches to me are where Cena like really steps into his role as the generational like ace of WWE. Like those matches are what I think of when it's like, okay, so like who was the true successor to Hulk Hogan? Oh, it's John Cena, because Hulk Hogan had the same thing going on where like, all right, he's won the world title and WrestleMania has happened and now he's wrestling King Kong Bundy and Big John Studd and Andre the Giant and Earthquake and Typhoon and like all these big ass dudes whose like big threat to Hulk Hogan is that they're big ass dudes. And that's what Khali is to Cena. And he makes a meal out of it. Is like the highest compliment I can say about those matches. Besides the fact that Khali is the joy of seeing him wrestle is that, you know, you're watching impossible bodies do impossible things. And no body in wrestling is quite as impossible as the Great Khali, with the exception of like, you know, your Andres and Giant Babas and stuff like that. So definitely worth checking out. If you have not, given, you know, 12 to 15 minutes to, Cena's run against Khali, super fun stuff.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I wouldn't dissuade anybody away from watching it. I think everything you said is true. I'm probably lower on it than you would be, but, I think out of everything I've seen from Great Khali, it's probably my favorite one of his matches. So, I'll just second that. And I think that there was one more match we wanted to talk about in terms of like dividing our eras, if we were to break this up into 2 parts, which we're going to need to, since we haven't even got to the aughts yet. But I think the last match we kind of wanted to talk about for this era of Cena would have been against Batista at Extreme Rules 2010, the Last Man Standing match. and I have a lot to say about this match. None of it good.
I want that's interesting to me. I'm gonna say that we should like that this conversation about Cena and Batista should probably be where we draw the line then for part one of this conversation. Like this is like so Cena versus Batista to kind of set the table here. And then like part two we should start with Cena versus Punk.
Yep.
Because what Cena versus Batista is, and it's billed as and built up as by the Nightmare Blunt rotation of Matt Stryker, Michael Cole, and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary, is a clash between like the two wrestlers who were more than anybody beholden to claim the title of the face of WWE, which is something that Batista is very sad about having not gotten. Like that was John Cena's role, and that Batista was basically second banana, and this is his great moment of revenge or whatever. So like you have, like going back to the idea of John Cena as an ideological battlefield, this is one of those matches that I would bill as being for the soul of WWE, which is the greatest no prize in the history of wrestling because WWE has no soul. And the way that it comes about, like leads to Batista leaving wrestling for a while and becoming a big movie star and you know, coming back, to put Daniel Bryan and the Shield over. So it works out for everyone who's a fucking dork in the end. But for real ones like me, it's a real sad occasion because Dave the Animal Batista is one of the greatest to ever do it. The greatest wrestler of all time, some might say. Some being me. And,
some weeks,
you know, but, like, I feel like this match, and this feud in general, to me, I love the feud because I think that Batista's heel stuff is phenomenal. Like, I think that it peaks early, in his like stuff against like Rey Mysterio. Like, I don't know if you remember the segment where like he turns on Rey and he's like just like screaming in his face, like with like spit dribbling onto Rey's mask, and he's like, "You were supposed to be my friend." That shit rules. And then he gets the spotlight and everyone's going like, "Yeah, he walks for miles inside this pit of danger. He's fucking awesome. He's the greatest. He's so fucking good, Orchid." And I can't believe that you don't like him, and I can't believe that you don't like this match. There's a Toru Yano finish in this match. Toru Yano might have stolen this finish for all I know.
No, but that's the thing. It's like, oh, all right. Well, first off, I have not seen enough Batista to really lean one way or the other. I'll just flat out say that much.
All I'm going to say for Big Dave is that he is one of my favorite kinds of wrestler, which is the kind of wrestler that pops their big old titties because they have big ones.
Yeah, well, I think that speaks to, I want to see, like, if there is one wrestler who I could transpose to a different company from this era, I would love to see Batista in Noah. Like, like imagining him, like, just like fucking just throwing Kenta around, like, in that setting is just like so fucking appealing to me.
Yeah.
I
keep saying that Cena is Sting, right? And I know that's probably annoying, and I'll
fair though. It's really good.
I mean, when I interviewed Sting, like, this didn't make it in the interview, but I did have like a 5-minute conversation with him about like John Cena, because I was like, yeah, like it's like, I think that the first wrestler who kind of figured out like the weird like connection that you have with both like a place and a crowd was like Cena, and he was like, you know, that's really interesting. Like, I hadn't really thought about it because like John wasn't really around when I was there, but like just like looking back at some of those matches, like it's like really true. And like the reason that I bring that up is because like I think that to me, like if John Cena is WWE's Sting, Batista is WWE's Lex Luger, not counting WWE's Lex Luger. So it's a more convoluted metaphor here.
I'm nodding so profusely right now.
Yeah.
That makes all the fucking sense. Yeah.
Like, and it's a shame that they didn't have a tag team together because that would have ripped. I would have been so into that shit.
You would have. Oh, we know. No, I think
I
my
only think one
objection
of these
is
men is attractive, by the way. Only one. Like,
I don't.
so that no
Is
one
it,
thinks
is
that
that
I'm like a weird
Batista?
muscle person. Yeah, it's Batista.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I mean,
It's
I had
definitely
to.
the guy who got a tattoo of his former friend removed because the former friend didn't like gay people, and not the guy who apologized to China for saying that Taiwan was a country. I like people who have like the conviction of their morals or whatever, and John Cena doesn't have any, so
Right. And I think that is one of the great things about Batista as a person. I adore him, like complete princess. God, yeah, just
lesbian mom, slums of
yeah.
DC.
Yep. I think what do you think is great about this match? Just it's the two faces of the company going up against each other? Is that really the big bits of it?
So okay, for me, the match of the series that I think is really great is the over the limit one.
Okay.
I was there for it. And then
Okay.
like the next night is Batista's last in the company, where he comes out in like a wheelchair, and
Oh, right.
and like Bret Hart is the general manager. It's very fucked up when you think about it for like more than 10 seconds, and he quits, and it like waves by, or wait, he waves
Yeah.
by in the second time he quits on Evolution or whatever. He's
Yeah.
so good
Yeah.
at quitting, Batista is. I truly admire that in a man. Your ability to quit on WWE is what defines your greatness for me. So Batista number 1, CM Punk number 2, Lex Luger number 3. Actually, I'm gonna bump Lex above CM Punk because he quit on WWE by showing up on the first episode of Nitro.
Right.
So yeah, like what makes this match for me is I think that they're in a tough spot because this is supposed to be a violent match, but we are 3 years removed from Benoit,
Mhm.
and WWE still has very strict rules on blood and head strikes and all that other stuff, all the things that make matches good. So instead of that, and without having any of like the really easy signifiers of a WWE hardcore match to like really lean on, they just have like a bigger version of the WrestleMania match that they had, and dig in deeper into Batista's insecurity as a wrestler. I
Sure.
think that's the thing that makes Batista's heel run work so well for me, is that like where other people who he was in a stable with, Evolution, fail as heels, is that they merely pretend to investigate like their insecurity. Like Triple H, bad at this. Randy Orton, he can be good, but like I think I've largely preferred Randy Orton as like a babyface. Like I'm thinking about him against like Christian when I think about Randy Orton shit that I like, or like the Mick Foley match, I guess, but that's not insecurity, that's hubris. Batista, like I think that Batista's psychology in this match is really good, and I think that like Cena plays into what Dave is doing in a way that makes this feel like the biggest possible WWE match during a time when that didn't mean shit.
Sure.
Like I think it's good. Like I think it's good. I think that like they come to a point in the match where they both figure out that no one is going to win this. So Cena invents Toru Yano's G1 Climax finish of like taping Batista to the ring post. Like I think that it's a really fun match. Like I think that it's great. Like I think that Batista's spears are good. They're not as good as Bobby Lashley's in that Bobby Lashley match though.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Not to go back to that, but those spears. Why Bobby Lashley start doing flips after spears? He'd just be fucking leveling people. But like the Batista, like the spine buster to the table. Like I think that there's a lot of good stuff in it. I think it's really fun. And I think that there's like a convincing amount of hate between the two of them in a company that did not want you to believe in things like hate anymore. Like this is a company that is moribund and dead, and like no one has ever experienced emotion basically until CM Punk wins the title at Money in the Bank the year after this. Like it feels like I don't like, it just feels like a big video game match. It's a lot of fun. And you hate it because you hate me.
I mean, I think there are two things about it. First off, the Toru Yano finish. I can't even tell if you're accurate about it, and like I don't know how I'd be able to figure it out. But like I just want to press against that.
Well, you would just have to go and watch every Toru Yano G1 Climax match.
Yeah, and a lot more DDT than I've seen. But even I think the DDT prior to this probably would have not involved bits like this. They probably just would have been sticking dildos in each other's ass in like in a forest. Yeah, no, I think one of the things about the ending that just jars me is that like it's just so comical in a match that is not comical until this point. And it's one of those things that it just makes me think, just like, what is the emotional tone that this company is trying to get me to feel at this particular point? So I think like the argument about like it like being like it being something that does like elicit an emotion out of you is like one of those things was like I was not watching at the time, so it's like I got to take your word at it. And if that is the case, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, right? Like what I do know about this era was that like they were just missing the mark just across the board.
Yeah.
About just like having anything that has like any emotional resonance. And I think that's like part of the thing that's the biggest knock on this match for me is that like it's just a microcosm of everything that I hate about modern era WWE. It's like there's so much, they are putting in so much into this match, so much from a psychology standpoint, especially with like the way like Batista is like working Cena's leg earlier in the match, and Cena is selling.
He does such a good job of selling that leg,
but no one fucking cares.
I
like
know.
It's completely dead, and the only thing that they have are the only two moments that they have a reaction until the duct taping is when Cena puts the figure 4 in, which I know that calls back to, was it Dynasty, Legacy, whatever the fuck the name of that stable was with Evolution with Triple H.
Legacy is something else entirely. That's Randy Orton, fucking
Cody Rhodes,
Manu, Cody Rhodes,
DiBiase,
and
right?
DiBiase Jr.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, yeah, I know full well that that's like calling back to that illusion, right? Like, it's like more than anything, it's like, here is your moment. Your moment is, this is referencing something that happened in the past, and all they do is they go woo for it. So it's almost like it's one of the first instances that I've seen in WWE where like keys are being jingled in front of them and they're just so fucking happy to swat it. And the other instance where you get a crowd reaction from this is, you know, the five moves of doom. And when we get to the next episode, I'm going to talk a little bit more about why I think John Cena is very comparable to Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign.
That is insane.
And I have like
oh my God.
I have like a reference point for that I'm very excited to show you. But it's just one of those instances where it's just like the audience is here because it's a thing to do, and that's fine. I know that's very much like what a lot of the appeal for WCW was. Like they talk about a lot in the Guy Evans book, is you could take your kid to a WCW match and know they're going to be safe. I don't know if that's true for this WWE era specifically.
Yeah. I guess it's also not true if like Conan's on the mic talking about peeling potatoes, tossing salads.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Or Scott Steiner doing anything.
Yeah.
I do just think that like it just points to like I'm seeing an audience who's trained to that nothing matters besides like the referential like refrain, and it's like I'm coming to this match already feeling pretty apathetic about both of these performers, and neither of them I don't know if I want to put this on them a lot, but like the crowd not being invested in anything besides like high spots and like other referential moments, it just makes it hard for me to get like emotionally invested in it. And I think that's like one of the things that like is an uphill battle for me, is that like when I come to these matches without the context, when I look at Cena, I don't feel anything. Like unless I want him to get his ass beat. And when that happens, boy, oh boy, is it delightful. But like it's like this, where it's like, this is what knocks him for me. And like his greatest wrestler ever case is that like I approach these matches feeling apathetic. I'm approaching the love of my heart. I'm wanting to find the reason to care, but like I think this match in particular took me I think it took me an hour and 45 minutes to get through because I kept getting distracted by
That's
like
crazy.
literally anything else.
I have two things. I have two things to say about like the crowd response to this. For one, you're right. Like again, 2010 dead era. Like the things that people were interested in were like CM Punk and that's it. That's all. This pay-per-view, Extreme Rules, wait, like this, yeah. So this features.
I'm looking at the card.
Yeah, I'm looking at it too. And you've got Punk versus Mysterio in a hair match, JTG versus Shad Gaspard in a strap match, Jack Swagger versus Randy Orton in an extreme. Like this sounds awful. Sheamus versus Triple H.
Sheamus and Triple H in a street fight.
Beth Phoenix versus Michelle McCool in an extreme makeover match. Edge versus Chris Jericho in a 20-minute cage match.
20-minute steel cage match.
This is a tired crowd, Orchid. This is a tired crowd.
I know.
But
no.
I also want to tell you next month, Over the Limit, how many rematches do you think there are on this show? Let's see.
I'm going to guess 90% of the card.
We have Rey Mysterio, CM Punk, Hart Dynasty defeating a different Chris Jericho / slapped ass tag team. Edge versus Randy Orton is new. Eve Torres versus Maurice, like the 5-minute Divas special, and then like Batista Cena, which is like the third month of this. The reason for the duct tape at the end of this match is because of the WWE's need to stretch out its feuds to cover 3 pay-per-views. This match is a last man standing match because at WrestleMania, John Cena won in a fashion that Batista declared to be a fluke. This match, Batista loses because of a fluke. Like John Cena sees that Batista is getting up, right? Like he's getting up from my fucking shit. I'm fucking. He like literally like basically like shrugs and goes, "Here we go again," and like fucking like duct tapes him to the ring post. That's an actual fluke, leading to the I Quit match. At which point Batista has to say, "I quit," before John Cena FUs him off of a fucking car onto the stage anyhow because he's a babyface. It's not a really good finish for John in terms of being a nice guy, but like it's the way that this happens because they need to make it to the next month. Otherwise no one is going to watch because the only other shit on this show, like you're not here for the Big Show defeated Jack Swagger by disqualification, singles match for the World Heavyweight Championship, 5 minutes and 5 seconds. Like, no fucking way. You might be there for the Straight Edge Society versus hair match between Mysterio and Punk that we talked about earlier. But like, you're probably not there for R-Truth versus Ted DiBiase with Virgil. Like it's
just what I want in 2010, some Virgil.
It's a tough era. It's really bad. It's super bad. This is why, like, you know, the match that we're going to talk about to kick off episode 2 of this 2-episode arc is so important. Wow. Wrestling journalist Dave Meltzer also criticized the World Heavyweight Championship match, remarking that it was, quote, almost an insult as a pay-per-view main event. Incredible. They're saying, oh yeah, also that was the one, I think that this is the one where like Orton and Edge had to end quickly because like Orton might have thrown out his shoulder or some shit. Like it was a bad time. Wrestling was bad. It was so bad. I know it was bad because I think this was around the time that I just started blogging about it on my blog for no fucking reason. And I was watching everything. Like I was watching TNA, which I don't remember watching, but there are reviews of mine from 2010 of TNA where I'm like talking about fucking, I don't even know who's in TNA in 2010. Like, is Hulk Hogan there yet? Who?
Yeah.
Nate Boner?
Bubbier Ray Dudley. Yeah.
I mean, I like Nate Boner. That's
yeah, I think Bubblier was there at this point. You might have had a little Samoa Joe. Yeah, but it was slim pickings. But no, I think you're right. I do think that this is the next episode. We do get to pick up with one of the. I mean, I get chills thinking about it. It was a special fucking match. I think why don't we use this as an opportunity to kind of trail out and
we should trail out, but I want to trail out by reflecting on what we think of John Cena to this point.
Okay, yeah, happy to do that.
Right now, based on what we've talked about, Orchid, is John Cena the greatest wrestler of all time?
No. Not remotely. And I will say that I'm very excited about the next portion of this because the things that happen in a very turbulent decade that seems like they had an opportunity to like get some traction back.
Yeah.
I think he does some of the most interesting shit of his career. So I'm very much looking forward to talking about that stuff. And it's not work rate Cena. I promise you that. It's other stuff that gets me really excited.
Yeah. Well, so far,
Colette, what do you think? Is John Cena the greatest wrestler of all time?
John Cena is the greatest wrestler of all time to this point. He's a sentient thumb who lifts heavy stuff, and I think that's awesome.
All right. And on that note, thank you very much for listening. Very much looking forward to talking to y'all next week about the reality era and doing a full 90 minutes solely about his relationship with Brie Bella as it played out on Total Divas. And with that, thank you all very much.
非常好，就是态度很舒服，很放松，我非常喜欢这个，因为这个差不多电影，差不多节目，我认为就是完美。